Hello and welcome to Addison to 35th, your Chicago baseball authority. My name is Herb Lawrence. You can check me out on the Twitter sphere. It is at Ecknerwall23. That is my last name, Lawrence, spelled backwards. Ecnerwal. 23 is for my guy, Robin Ventura. Or if you want to go to Blue Sky, go over there. My name, herblawrence.bsky.social. Or if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just my name, Herb Lawrence, over there. Thanks to the folks at Just Baseball. Really appreciate their help all year long and all the times they're going to help in the future. We're definitely going to have our head of operations, Elijah Evans, on soon to talk about some of the people the White Sox did acquire during this trade deadline. We are recording on Thursday, right after the trade deadline happened. So we have the full rosters of what the White Sox give up and what the White Sox have returned as far as the two trades that they did on Wednesday and Thursday. But first, we will be talking about these surging White Sox because, oh my goodness, since the All-Star break, the White Sox have played 12 games versus the Pirates on the road, versus the Tampa Bay Rays on the road, home versus the Cubs, and home versus the Philadelphia Phillies. They have gone 8-4, winning 3 of those 4 series and looking really good too, except for that Sunday game versus the Cubs. And we'll get to that slightly, but this is mostly going to be a positive podcast because I know you feel it out there. I just want to give you my thoughts on the White Sox and how they're playing as of late. It just seems like they can just do the things that are necessary to get the job done. Like the young players they have on their team, and I'll go over the stats of the 5 players that I think are going to be the future of the White Sox, going to be here when the White Sox are actually competing. None of them, weirdly enough, are pitchers. They're all hitters. I mean, I think Shane Smith will be one of the pitchers here when the White Sox are good, but he is currently on the IL with a sprained ankle. But I think those 5 players that I'll go over, and it's going to be Chase Myetroff, Kyle Teal, Colson Montgomery, Edgar Carroll, and of course, Miguel Vargas. Those players are starting to mash the ball. Most of those guys are rookies. Myetroff's a rookie. Montgomery's a rookie. Teal and Carroll are rookies. So it's very encouraging that early in their careers, they have progressed, and especially Colson Montgomery, and I'll get specifically to his numbers in a second. But the Sunday game versus the Cubs, let me get that out the way. Very pissed. Multiple plays that messed me up on that one. The Lenyn Sosa running to third base on the infield fly rule that Nico Horner intentionally dropped to get a player like Lenyn Sosa to catch the bait, to go after the bait. It's just a play you can't do. You have to be smart about baseball. And I think Lenyn Sosa, what he does on the offensive side, he has that same opposite effect on the baseball IQ side. I can live with a player kind of being not aware of his surroundings, not understanding the situation that you're in. We're not all on our game 100%. Sometimes things happen, but there's been more evidence than not that Lenyn Sosa doesn't think baseball, doesn't understand situations, or is just ignorant and doesn't care about it. I want him to be better. Last year in Philadelphia, like the throw to second base where he's chasing down the runner, and he did it again in that same Sunday game, and then eventually throws the ball away, and the runner steals home because Lenyn Sosa was late to react. That stuff can't happen. Then you get the pickoff later in the game with Nico Horner getting picked off of first base. Lenyn Sosa threw the ball way too early on the return throw. So that allowed the first baseman, I think it was Miguel Vargas, to throw the ball home to catcher Edgar Carroll to cut down the runner from second base, who was Ian Happ, who was on second base to start the play, ran around third and was coming home. So they stopped Ian Happ in his tracks. Edgar Carroll, and we're talking about how these rookies doing so well with the bat. And Edgar is doing well with the glove, but this play was a serious mess up for him. Held the ball way too long and threw it right when Ian Happ was going back to third and Colson Montgomery was ready to receive the throw, but he was also on the baseline. And Ian Happ, decent sized guy, but he's not Colson Montgomery. Colson Montgomery is 6'4", 230. Ian Happ went through him with the quickness, right through him. I mean, in Colson's defense, he wasn't really expecting to be playing the Oklahoma drill while playing baseball, but got ran over, got an interference call, got an error for his getting ran into because Edgar Carroll didn't throw the ball. But those are what rookies do sometimes. They mess up plays, and that's fine with Edgar Carroll. I'll get on him, but I'm saying Lenine, it's constant. When you watch him play, like he doesn't understand the nuances of baseball. I hope just some of the stuff that Will Venable is teaching, and some of the stuff where you have Chase Modroff, who I think is a high IQ baseball player, where you have Miguel Vargas, who I think is a solid IQ baseball player. Same thing, a high IQ baseball player is Edgar Carroll, understanding what to do with the baseball when needed. Multiple times he's gone the other way to either get a productive out or to drive in a run. So hopefully Lenine can learn some of the nuances of baseball and start thinking about where he's going to be going with the ball if it's hit to him. Those are fundamental things. Or if the ball is hitting the air at this juncture, what am I going to do? How am I going to advance? What's the situation here? And that's another thing that Lenine messed up there. He got the third out at third base, which is a fundamental thing you shouldn't do. He went to third on a ball that was hit to the second baseman, pretty much in between first and second. And then third, the third place hitter was coming up, who was Andrew Benintendi, who early in that game had hit a home run. And then later in that game, hit a home run. So a lot of things messed up with Lenine Sosa. That's the bad. All right, I'm done talking bad about the White Sox. Let's get to the good. Since the All-Star game has happened, there's 5 hitters, like I believe that these are the hitters that are going to be the White Sox future when the White Sox are good again. Hell, it might be even in 2027 if we're going to have a season. I mean, I think that would be the last season because, friends, I hear bad words. It's not going to be good with the labor strike. Of course, when the White Sox are going to start being good, we're going to have a labor strike or lockout, and that's not going to be good, and it's going to last for a long time. But Chase Modroff, Colson Montgomery, Kyle Teal, Edgar Carroll, and Miguel Vargas, all these players 25 or younger and will be factoring in what the White Sox will be doing in the future. Modroff, since the break, 294 average, 321 on base, 451 slug, 4 weighted runs created plus of 113. Pretty solid for a middle infielder. The guy's been stinging the ball. He had, I think, an 8-game hitting streak. Just got broke up the other day. It looks like he's more confident in what he does. I know that if you look at the overall hitting, and I think he's hitting in the 260s, something like that this year. Got it. But if you watch him just play, you can tell this kid gets it and eventually will be one of your favorite players because he'll start developing a little pop and hit you 10 to 15 home runs a year and play you a solid short or second base. Really solid on the defensive side. And I think that the sky's the limit for the kid. Like he has the bat to ball skills. The one thing that he hasn't done in his major league career is walk. Like lately, he has not walked at all. And that's one of the things that he was very known for in his minor league career with the Boston Red Sox. So if you can just increase the walks and then also increase a little power, you got something there. And I really like what Chase Modroff has done for the White Sox, especially after the All-Star game. Let's get to Miguel Vargas because this is a player that I still kind of, the jury's out on him. Is he really going to be that guy that the Dodgers expect him to be and who Chris Getz expects him to be after he traded for him last year? We'll see. But the other day, he hit a nice home run versus the Philadelphia Phillies. And I think it was a 7-run 7th inning that the White Sox had. Like, they all smashed this week. Like, the Phillies are a really good team. and the White Sox and the young players all hit home runs. Carroll, Teal, and Montgomery. It was the second game they played Teal and Carroll together, and they all hit home runs. And Miguel Vargas hit a home run the other day, and he's hitting 286 for the Post All-Star, getting on a 352 clip and slugging 531 for weighted runs created plus of 144 after the All-Star game. Let's get to those two catchers who finally the White Sox saw, hey, we can play these two guys together. The first game, that was the 6-0 shutout by the Phillies. The second game on Wednesday, both those players went deep, hit a home run, and for the post All-Star game, Kyle Teal has been on flame, hitting 400, on base at 400, and his slugging at 684, weighted runs created plus of 201, while Edgar Carroll, no slouch himself, 344, 371, and a 625 slugging for weighted runs created plus of 169. Just this is very exciting for me, guys. Like, we were talking early in the year, and this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. I'm sure you wanted the same thing as a White Sox fan. You don't care about all the rest of the things that go on with the White Sox. You don't care if they win or lose games necessarily, but you want to see these young players that the White Sox have acquired in the last couple of years. Edgar Carroll for Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez a couple of years ago. Kyle Teal and Chase Mydroff, etc. for Garrett Crochet in this offseason. Colson Montgomery, of course, you drafted a couple of years ago, has been through his own struggles this year and last year, and that's what makes it even more sweet that after the All-Star game, Colson Montgomery's hitting 261 and slugging 630, crushing the ball already in his major league career. Weighted runs created plus of 140. And for what it's worth, I know the other day on Sunday he did make 2 errors, and it's going to be a process for him. And the second error was on the interference call that Ian Happ ran into him. So that's not really a true error on him. As I said, that's more on Edgar Carroll in my estimation. But he looks the part over there at third. I think he can do some at least average to slightly below average third base. If he can hit like this, I'll take it. I'll take it. And especially where he came from, where people were calling him a bust when he got sent back down to Arizona. But you could tell the kid kept his head up, made sure that his Arizona trip was going to be productive but short. When he got back up to Charlotte, started cracking again. And in the White Sox positive marks, I got to give him very much credit. When they saw he had understood what had happened down there in Arizona with him and hitting coordinator Ryan Fuller, and they saw it took, they didn't waste time and say, let's see if it can take a little bit more. This is a year for seeing major league games for prospects, maybe earlier than you thought you would. And that is the reward Colson got. Hey, you understood what was going down. We worked on what we need to work on, your confidence, you staying back, keeping your hands back while your body moves, and then crushing the ball. And I think Mark DeRosa did a great breakdown of Colson Montgomery the other day on MLB Network, where he was saying, like, when he was struggling, he was rotational. He was just too much trying to lift the ball and get his hands out early instead of, if your body moves, you're, waiting for the fastball, your hands still stay back. And so they can hit the off-speed pitch or the changeup or the slider that I think he hit off of Philly starter Christopher Sanchez, who hadn't given up a run since June and hadn't given up a home run to a lefty, I don't believe, this whole year. And Colson Montgomery took that trash out to right field. The guy's got plus power. Hit an opposite field home run on Wednesday. Like, he is so far what he was promised. And that is so refreshing because all the losses and all the bad development stories from the White Sox in their history, in their recent history. And I know this is a short sample size for all these players. But to see a victory, to see success, to see these players having fun, like, the record's not great, and I don't even know what it is. I think they won 40 games. So they're 40 and I believe 69. So they are one game away from their win total from last year. But that's irrelevant. You know how you feel watching these games. This is much better. Like the team might lose a game and sans the loss on Sunday versus the Cubs, you're not mad at the team because they lost the game. You're happy that these young players are getting the experience that they're getting and they're doing pretty well with the time that they've gotten. I have no qualms on what Will Venable and the staff have done. Actually, I applaud what they've done. They've taken a team that last year looked listless, and I know I just said they got 4 rookies on the team, so these floor players weren't on the team last year, so that makes a huge difference. But I say they had slightly more talent at this point before the trade deadline last year than they did this year. But having leadership be steady and respected, like Will Venable is, as opposed to what Pedro Grifol was, I think that speaks volumes. As I always say, the managers during the game, that stuff is negligible to me. I don't think it matters that much. The in-game managing, I know pitching changes; they do have a an effect on a game, of course. If you pull a guy too early or too late, understood. But I think those all even out after eventually through a 162 game season. But you know what doesn't even out? Respect. If you believe the story you got from Clint Frazier on Foul Territory a couple weeks or months ago, where he's saying a player and allegedly that player was Yasmani Grandal, loaf it to first base. And when he came back to the dugout, Pedro Grifol, this is one of the first games that Pedro Grifol is managing as a big league manager in 2023. And Pedro Grifol apparently takes exception. Hey, man, we're the White Sox. We hustle to first base. And then Yasmani pretty much saying, hey, you say that stuff to me again, we're going to be fighting. In the door, no respect from players. And I know Yasmani might be a different cat, but I guarantee you that if Yasmani tried that with Will Venable, some furniture would have been moving. Will Venable doesn't look like the fighting type, but if you disrespect him, it looks like you're going to get punched. So the respect is there for Will Venable. You could tell these players love playing for him, and he loves managing this team. I love watching this team. Wouldn't think I would say that about a team that is 40 and 69, but I look forward to each and every game that they have played as late because they look so damn good. And the reason why I think the White Sox are surging and doing so well is because you're playing all the guys who are going to be playing when it's time. I think they realize that. Some of these players played together down there in minor leagues, and they have a great series the White Sox do on their CHSN series where they're following around a couple prospects, Colson Montgomery, George Wilco, and I believe Noah Schultz. So the 2 Chicago guys who are down in single A and double A. And of course, Colson Montgomery, local product or Indiana product here at the major leagues. And it shows the struggles of these players, the triumphs. And it's a very, very nice series the White Sox are doing. And it showed like Colson talking to Tim Elko when he was down there, talking to Chase Mydroff when he was down there, Kyle Teal, Edgar Caro. So they've all played together at the AAA level this year. And now they're all at the major league level. And I feel like them being all together, realizing they're all rookies this year, they're going to be growing and winning together. And I believe that, you bring into players at the same time that have that focus of, okay, this is a bad start we're at right here, but we're the foundation of something going to be good. And you can tell those players are putting in the work to be what they're going to be. So they're not, that's the old saying, dress how for the job you want, not the job that you have. I feel like these kids with IQ, how they go about their preparation, um, how they speak after wins or losses, how they look on the bench. They look like they're all enjoying each other's company. I think this is a great job by the White Sox getting these players together to play at the major league level, to struggle together, to succeed together. And I think that this is a great time to be a White Sox fan. If you're on the fence, I know last couple of years have been tough. If you're on the fence and you're listening to this podcast for the first time, welcome. Thank you. This is a White Sox and Cubs podcast. I cover the Sox side. But to be on the ground floor of this, it feels good. It feels like 10 years from now, he's like, yeah, remember when we were the worst team in baseball, but then we got those influx of young talent with those 4 rookies on offense, Shane Smith as a starter, Davis Martin doing work, Jonathan Cannon being kind of a mercurial, Sean Burke starting the season as the opening day starter and then getting a roller coaster ride of a season. Yeah, this is a good time to be a White Sox fan. And another reason why it's a good time to be a White Sox fan, because I believe after this trade deadline, I will actually give Chris Getz a passing grade here. And of course, he doesn't need my validation. I'm just giving you my opinion on what he did last year as opposed to what he did this year. Now, last year, Eric Fetty, Tommy Pham, Michael Kopech out the door. You get back, of course, Miguel Vargas from the Dodgers and a couple youngsters who were in single A. Terrell Perez and I think Alberto Albertus. And at the time, I was like, ugh, you didn't get anything from the Cardinals, even though you traded 2 players there. And pretty much traded away Michael Kopech as a throw-in. And I wasn't happy. Miguel Vargas got here, and he wasn't happy. And you could see in his play, he was kind of down, and he struck out a lot. Sub 2 average last year at the end of the year. Wasn't feeling it. Went from the best team, the Dodgers, won a World Series, to the worst team in baseball history. And he did not fake the funk, as they say. He let his feelings show. So I panned that deal. At the time, now it's looking a little better because Eric Fetty has subsequently been DFA'd and now traded from the Cardinals. Now he's a Brave. Tommy Pham is a Pirate. And then Michael Kopech has been on the IL more than he's pitched this year for the Dodgers. So, and those young players, Jarrell Perez, and I think Albertus has finally played for the White Sox. And, of course, Miguel Vargas is having a better year here for the White Sox. He was hot a little bit earlier in the year, but now he's having a better year than he was earlier in the year. So, this year, I was expecting Chris Getz pretty much to do similar things that he did last year. But I will say on Wednesday when he pulled the trigger, sending Austin Slater to the Yankees for minor league starting pitcher Gage Zeal, who was a 4th-round pick in 2024 for the Yankees, ranked 18th in the Yankees system before yesterday. 14th, I believe, now in the Chicago White Sox system. I was astonished. Like Austin Slater, I know they got him for his mashing of left-handed pitchers, but I didn't think that you would actually get not only a warm body, a guy that has a good chance of making this team next year or the year after. Like, he's no great shakes, but I will read you what our guy, Aram Layton, on Just Baseball wrote about Gage at the beginning of July. Gage Zeal, the Yankees' fourth-round pick last year from University of Miami. Zeal was a consistent strike thrower for the Hurricanes before entering the Yankees pitching lab. Now, Zeal is doing more of the same, throwing to a 3.61 ERA in low A Tampa for 11 starts before a quick bump to double A Somerset. His whiff pitch is a plus slider, but Zeal's pitchability with a fastball and changeup makes him a high floor, low ceiling starting pitcher. So that's the write-up from Aram Layton at the beginning of this month about Gage Zeal, the guy the White Sox got for Austin Slater, sending him to the Yankees. And then today, it was a slow day for the White Sox. And the last hour, they pull off a trade to the Tampa Bay Rays. They send starting pitcher Adrian Houser, who has been nothing short of spectacular with the White Sox this season. Just amazing starting pitcher through his, I think, 12 starts with the White Sox. Awesome. He got traded to the Rays for infielder Curtis Mead, who is from Australia. Australian for beer. I'm sorry for all my Australian listeners and our viewers. I'm sorry. I had to do it. They also got two right-handed pitching prospects. Duncan David, or is it David? He's a starter. He went to the University of Iowa. Pretty solid. And Ben Peoples. He is a reliever with the Rays system up at Durham. So those two players, I think Duncan David was at Durham also. So they're knocking on the door for major league starts. And same thing with Curtis Mead. I think he's played in the major leagues a little bit this year. Got a cup of coffee, but he's mostly been in AAA. And all three of the players did get option to AAA as soon as they did get acquired for Adrian Houser. So I think Chris gets killed on the deals that he actually did. Like, you got value for a guy, Adrian Houser, they picked up midseason. Like, they picked him up after the season started. And he has been nothing short of spectacular this year, as I just said. And you got three players that might be on your major league team this year helping out. That's a win. And then signing Austin Slater to a low-level contract, him coming here and getting you a player that is Gage Zeal, a fourth-round pick from 2024 that's been pretty solid for the Yankees. I think Chris gets knocked it out of the park, to steal a baseball cliche, for the deals that he actually did. A for me on the deals that he actually did. Now, could he have done more? I'm sure he could have. I don't know what the conversations he had, but there are three players on the team still, at least three players on the team still, that I don't know why they're on the team anymore. Mike Tauchman, love him. He has played awesome this year. He is probably, in his times that he's played, even though he's been injured for a good chunk of this time with hamstring injuries, from the time he's played, if he's been the best White Sox, I believe. Like, consistent hitting, fielding is so-so, but he's giving his all out there. Getting on base via the walk, getting on base via the power, home runs, and such like that. He's been awesome. I thought a team would love to have a fourth outfielder, DH type, lefty bat off the bench like Mike Tauchman, getting something like a lottery ticket, or some of the people that the White Sox got for Houser or Austin Slater, like getting something like they got for Austin Slater. I think he's better than Austin Slater, but Austin Slater kills lefties. Mike Tauchman not as much, but he's a lefty bat off the bench that I think a playoff team would love to have. So the fact that he's still in the White Sox is shocking to me. Michael A. Taylor, same thing. Like, he hasn't had a good year. He hasn't had a good year in a while, I think, since he has been a Minnesota Twin. But his speed, his glove, he hits lefties at a decent clip. Not as good as Austin Slater, but he hits them at a good clip. The fact that he's not on somebody else's team is shocking to me. And then Luis Robert Jr. I mean, at this point, if you didn't trade him at trade deadline, that means the White Sox have to pick his $20 million option up for next year. That's what that tells me. Because otherwise, you would have gave him away. You would have just said, hey, whatever these teams are offering at the end of the trade deadline, give me that player or players for Luis Robert Jr. If you don't trade him at the trade deadline, that means he's coming back next year for $20 million team option. 100%. If it doesn't happen, that's a huge L. Absolute huge L if the White Sox don't re-sign Luis Robert Jr. or find a way to get that $20 million deal picked up and then trade him to a team in the offseason. I'm fine with that. But you have to now. Like, you're in a trick bag, especially Luis Robert since the All-Star break has been hitting his ass off. One of the best hitters in baseball this post-All-Star break. And I think you have to pick up his $20 million. And so that's why I'm kind of weirded out that he is not on another team. They're probably just going to try this again next year and hope Luis Robert has a great second half and then a strong first half in 2026 so they can finally rid themselves of his contract, which is not that bad, but they want to get premium talent back for a premium bat and premium glove that Luis Robert has shown that he is. So for overall, I give A for the trades that Getz actually did. And overall, I give him a B- for this trade deadline because I think he missed a couple deals that could have been made. And there's other players out there. Not sure what you get back from Dan Altavilla or Steven Wilson or players like that. But I think there's more that could have been done that wasn't done. And maybe other teams were lowballing him on the players, or maybe he was thinking way too high on Luis Robert Jr. and other players that I just named. This weekend, the White Sox go out to L.A., Anaheim. You guys get the reference from Swingers? You get it? Anaheim. They go out there and play Yoan Moncada and the Angels, who are 5 games out of the wild card or 4 games, but they have a bunch of teams in front of them for that third wild card spot. And the Angels pushed all in, trading for players. I'm like, what are you doing, Angels? You're supposed to be getting players away. You're acquiring players as if you're trying to get to that playoff. Good luck. But the White Sox will go out to Anaheim this weekend for a 3-game set to play out there late 9 games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. So I'll have a show for you sometime next week. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be next Wednesday or Thursday, but I'll have a show for you next week talking about the White Sox because I am so excited to watch all these games because this season has been nothing short of very entertaining, and I love what the young players are doing and the Chicago White Sox are looking like they're going to be doing this year. Can they get the 61 wins? That's the question I want because remember, in 2022, they went 81-81. In 2023, they went 61-101. And of course, in 2024, they went 41-121. Let's just go back up. Every year, let's go back up. So 61-101 for 2025. And then 81-81 for 2027. And then if we're following the pattern, I think they won 90 games in 2021. So that's 2028. Boom. So for Ryan Herrera, who does the Cub version of Addison to 35th, my name is Herb Lawrence. Thank you for joining me today on Addison to 35th podcast.